guys, I'm back. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about marketing tips and strategies that you can provide to your clients to help your clients get more success from their marketing dollars, from their lead gen efforts working with you. The tools and tips that I give you are things that we have personally implemented into my agency. And so I believe if you implement them as well, that you can have great success and you can extend the lifeline of those client relationships, okay? So let's get into the topic for the video. So when working with your clients, one of the things that I really look for is how to really build that relationship. And I want to take my service beyond one service that I'm providing, which could be lead gen as a core service, but I'm also looking for other ways to provide value to that business. And some instances could be like SEO, could be a GMB, Google Business Profile now, where I'm working with them to grow that. Could be their online presence with social media. But one of the things that you're going to notice, especially with local small businesses, is they really don't have all these things set up. And a lot of them are looking for like really just out of the park results. And some of them rely on what we call word of mouth marketing, which is a great avenue. It's really important to have word of mouth marketing. However, if you're talking to a business that really wants to go to, I don't know, maybe 500,000 or $1 million plus, or, you know, 8 figures with their local service business, they're really going to have a dialed in system. It really won't be just a willy-nilly, oh, I get some word of mouth. And word of mouth could be subjective. You know, maybe the contractor you're speaking with gets 20 inquiries a month from friends, family, and people that know him that do jobs. Maybe he or she is consistently busy. You know, they have 2 or 3 jobs a week. But if that's where they want to be, great. We're talking about businesses that say, no, I want to have, you know, multiple trucks on the road. I want to have a staff. I want to have, you know, a team. Typically, a team can be 10, 20, 30 people. And in order to have that, you are going to need some type of a system to grow this, right? It can't be a couple of inquiries a month. You're going to need a system that can get you predicted results over and over again, right? You know, one month they could get 300 inquiries or 400 inquiries or 100 inquiries, depending on where they are and what their objective is, right? But it can't just be, oh, you got 30 or 40 inquiries a month, right? And in order for them to grow that, guess what? They're going to need to have a serious amount of skin in the game. If you go in any local market, right? And there's a couple local markets where I have clients, and we know who the really, really big players are, right? We know them. They're omnipresent. They're everywhere. They have lots and lots of reviews. They have, you know, their team is doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? If you go into a city like that and you see that, you easily could turn to a client and say, let me ask you something, right? This is the company that, you know, is doing very, very well in your local market. Have you ever heard of them? They should say yes. If they said no, then maybe the person could be brand new to the market, because this is the biggest player in your city. And if that's the case, let me just give you an idea of what they're doing. And you go through the different strategies that you see them doing through your market research, and you tell them, listen, you don't have to do everything they're doing because it's going to take time for you to grow to that point, but just get an idea of where we're going to have to be, whether it be 6 months, a year from now, or 2 years from now, in order to achieve these things, right? This is essentially planting the seed for future relationships with your client. And it also lets them know that this is not a one-time transaction. This is not a one-time encounter. It could be based on the results that you can get them, but it's built and designed based off consistency, right? So in other words, you guys are probably making calls with some of the directories that I've given you. You're probably finding, especially with like local service businesses, right? You're finding these businesses. Many of these businesses, you know, they play like Frogger. If you ever seen the game Frogger, this is years ago. I don't even know if they have it anymore, but it's like this little frog, right? And he's trying to get across the road, and there's like cars and all this type of stuff coming at him, and he has to hop back and forth. That's what they're doing, right? So they're going to jump from like Home Advisor, go to Angie's, go back to Facebook, go to Google Ads, go to Thumbtack, go to networks, and they just keep, and go to Yelp. They just keep playing this game, hoping that they're going to hit the magic bullet, right? They're hoping that they'll get something from it, or they keep bouncing from marketing agency to marketing agency, right? From one program to the next program. And they keep thinking that there's something wrong with what they're investing their money in, right? They never are always looking at their internal process. And not everybody, but I'm giving you, like, from my numbers, from talking to different businesses, these are pretty consistent metrics that I'm looking at that give me this data to assess for a majority of businesses that don't actually hold their businesses accountable for a lot of the transactions. Give you a good idea of what I mean. So I have a client in Ohio, and he's a really good guy. Actually, he was a referral. He came from a buddy that I was working with, doing some, not a buddy, but a client that became really cool, and he's doing some work. So he said, hey, my cousin is also looking for some lead gen, and the location he's at, so I'm on the phone talking with him, and we didn't really go into a lot of detail. He's not like a really chatty guy or anything like that, but we were just talking, and he's like, yeah, I get a lead from you, and I make the most out of it. I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, well, we'll go do the job, and then we'll go door knock like a couple of homes. We'll leave some business cards, leave some flyers in the community, and people will see us. Whether it takes a day or two for us to do the job, they'll see us in the community doing the work. I'm like, that's genius, right? Now that's obviously not new. That's actually a very great marketing strategy, because people can see you doing the work. So it's not just reading reviews online anymore. Now you can see, yeah, I'm doing the job for Steve down the road, whatever it may be. So, and in some instances, you may not have that luxury depending on the business or the client setup that you have, but that's a small tactic that a client can add to their business to constantly increase some local revenue. And it almost makes their lead cost like zero, right? If he buys a lead from me, let's just say for $90, and he closes that job and gets, who knows, one or two of the jobs that same week, or down the road, they say, hey, I know you did, the work for my neighbor. I saw you maybe a month or two ago. I want to hire you to do the job here for us. We have let's say it's a tree we want to get removed or whatever. This business now has the ability to not just decrease their marketing costs that they're spending with me, but also leave a footprint in a community that they're doing work in. And I, speak to this level with a lot of my clients, additional things that they can do right in their local community. And then there's things that we can do together from an online and an offline aspect of growing their business. The difference is that the business has to be committed to the process, because it's not cheap. Let's just be real here. If you want to build a business that's going to go $500,000 to 7 figures, what do you realistically think you might have to spend on a monthly basis on marketing to help you do that, right? For instance, as an example, him getting into a community where he can land a job, which he did, and then obviously get the opportunity to now speak to some local neighbors and people in the community. And who knows, one of those people could be like a community official or something, where he gets even more exposure. That happened to one of my clients in Texas, right? We got a lead, and the lady was the HOA president, and there were like another 30 or 40 homes that were needing service, but then she wanted to make sure that she had a contractor for the entire HOA. I think there was about 100 plus homes there that needed like regular tree trimming and things like that for the community. So one lead that, could cost someone, let's just say $90, could literally turn into a job of compounding effect. Now, the word of mouth aspect of it that we just discussed is we can't just rely on that, right? We can't just rely on saying, okay, great, you landed this one job, and then you may potentially have another 90 jobs or whatever the case may be. We now need to add fire to what you're doing, which will help you become omnipresent, right? Which will help you become dominant in the community. So not just one community, multiple community, to expand your reach and expand your word of mouth. This is where the online and a little bit of the offline aspect of marketing comes in. This is how you can compound that effect of, let's say, lead generation. And it also can relate into a little bit of brand awareness and campaigns that could necessarily run on a social aspect. You can then also do them on an offline aspect as well. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. I don't want to go too long with this, but it's really important that when you do get a client, you use these strategies, because it's the same principle that you're applying to your business, right? You don't want to just sign up a client as a transactional event and then you do all this work for them, and for whatever reason, you don't know the different aspects of different goals and aspirations that they have. Many businesses won't express this to you. They'll just expect the world. And if you don't have what we call, it's really on the second call that you, like once they onboard with you, you want to have a what we call a quick strategy call. It's like the onboarding call with them, and you want to essentially manage their expectations again, and you want to go through some of the details that this business can be expecting from your agency. And if you don't do it, what could happen is, guess what? They go through this circle again of trying to find the the diamond in the rough. They're trying to just strike gold. Oftentimes, that won't happen, because if it will, guess what? Every business would have struck gold already. It's really going to come down to a detailed strategy and time. Okay, you will invest your efforts in a system that is proven to work. Right? We know that online and offline marketing works, and we know that they work because we're already getting you, in this example, leads. Okay, now we need to convert these leads into paying customers, and then from there, it's your team's job to execute what we call essentially is the follow-up and the retargeting method, right? Because the same rule applies even if they don't land the job. So they go do the estimate for Steve. Seems like great. I might get 1 or 2 estimates. Give me a call Friday, whatever. They get the follow-up date, and they leave that home, and then they go do. So they could still, hey, we're in the community today. We're doing this. They could see your truck and you like you got your uniform on, right? These are stuff that you get into the conversation of explaining to your clients, because believe it or not, there's a lot of local service businesses that don't have this dialed in professional etiquette, right? And they don't approach a lot of estimates and jobs and bids this strategy. A lot of them don't. Now you will find roofers that do this, and maybe solar professionals and like window contractors, but there's a big scope of businesses that do and don't. And you can give them basically what I call is the blueprint. I have because when I was doing, I used to do moving sales. It was a strategy that I built into my system. This was years ago, that I built into my system when I used to go and get people. We had to give them estimates. The urgency was, you're moving. There's no you have to pick somebody. So people would typically get 3 or 4 estimates, and then they would choose a company. And I used to come in with like a nice professional brochure. Everything was just polished. I had a whole strategy so that they felt very comfortable leaving basically all their household items. I mean, you got pictures and prized possessions, things that they value for many years, in the hands of, essentially strangers that are professionals that are going to move. It was a big moving company. So we had a lot of backing behind us, but still that person has to feel comfortable with you, the individual. That's the same thing that applies to your clients. That customer, no matter how good of a lead they are, they have to feel comfortable with your client. So you don't know how they're walking up to the home. You don't know their professional demeanor. You don't know how they're speaking to them. There's a lot of different variables that go into the transaction. So the best lead in the world, it's really hard to say, right? In my opinion, what I consider to be a really good lead is someone that is genuinely looking for service. They give you their information. They want you to come by. They have the resources. You have to close the deal, because somebody else could walk in right after you and say, well, listen, I'm here. I'm professional. I'll shake your hand. I'll speak to you very professional. And then at the end of the day, this is the cost. And it could be more than your price, but they may have felt more comfortable with this individual because of how they approach them, how they handle the entire situation from A to Z. It could be booking the appointment. You make an appointment for 10. You show up 10:15 with no, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late. Small things like that affect these transactions, right? So this is the small tips. These are the conversations we get into with our clients. Fun fact, I even had one of my really good clients too, and he had lost one of his climbers, and it just got kind of chaotic, and he was just taking on a lot. We get him a lot of phone calls. So he was taking on a lot of calls, and at the time, I was trying to transition him to get when his family members take a call, and it wasn't happening yet. So he had about, I would say, a number of calls, like 10, 15 calls that were kind of going to the wayside. So I said, listen, let's pause this for a minute. Let's do some follow-up with some of these people. We were able to re-engage with some of these people to get them back, because these things happen. It's called life. And this is the small, where I say you could build a really good relationship with your clients by really working with them, right? Not just, here to charge them money, but really working with your clients, making sure that you're giving, 150%. Not just in the cold call, but even in, this is the relationship. This is what I tell you guys, this is a real relationship. You got to be real. So that's why you don't want to work with somebody you don't feel comfortable with, that you really don't want to talk to. Maybe you can talk to them consistently. You don't feel that relationship with them, just say, John, this is not going to be the right fit. You move on. But if you feel really comfortable with someone, you could really build a strong relationship with a business. They'll work with you to the sky. They'll go for whatever for you. They'll spend whatever amount of money it is that it requires for them to keep growing. As long as they're having the success they're looking and growing their business, they'll keep going with you because you're providing value to their business. Almost how many times clients call me, Mike, you're the only company. We're working with this company, that company. And sometimes they'll dabble, right? Sometimes because they get pitched. You got some good salespeople out there pitching, strong pitches that, I'll give it a whirl. That's why I tell you guys, don't give up on cold calling. You just got to get better at your skill. And they'll give it a dabble and, oh man, it didn't work. And no matter what, with me, they're getting a consistent result because we're constantly measuring our metrics. So I don't want to beat a dead horse with this. If you guys found value in this video, be sure to like and subscribe. My channel is going to give you guys a lot of tips, tricks, and strategies to growing your agency. If you're looking for a strategy call, who's a strategy call for, Mike? A strategy call is for those of you that are having a couple hiccups and hurdles in your business and you want to achieve these metrics, you want to get over these hurdles, then you could book a strategy call. The link is in the description below. And for those of you that are locked in, dead serious, you want to grow your agency from 0 to 10K, you could book a coaching call. On the coaching call, we want to go over some of your goals and aspirations, and I have several qualifying questions that I want to go through with you to see if you qualify. It's not for everybody, and it's because it has to make sense. Like I was just talking about relationship, but we have to have that connection. If we have that connection, and of course, it's 10 times easier for me to help you get the results that you're looking for. I'll see you guys next time.